was interesting there what John was saying about retaining your best people, because Melissa Foley specialises in recruitment. She joined our team there in November, but it was the first time since I've been involved in the business that we got a phone call. I answered it at 10 to 6 in the evening, and there was a company that had made people redundant in Galway, and the guy rang through and he'd been refused voluntary redundancy. He was one of their best employees, he was one of their senior people, and he was on the lookout for another job. He had to do the job of 2 people now, and he said he wasn't going to do that, and he wanted to work in another business. So I think it bears home what John is saying. Retaining your best people, you may decide that certain people are going to be lost through this, but it's the other people that you lose. It's your best people that sometimes that you lose through the process as well. So that's important to remember. My piece is, I suppose, for the last 9 years I've worked in the field of outplacement, and I sat on the other side looking in at the organisation, and I've listened to lots of negative comments thrown at me from individuals who've been just made redundant, and how they feel, and the bitterness and the anger that they feel for the company that's just made them redundant. What I want to do this morning is just share some challenges, some real life experiences from my time working in that, and looking at it from an outside perspective, helping you to future-proof your business in a way that when you are making somebody redundant, what goes on in their head, how it impacts them as an individual, and then we'll talk a little bit about our approach to outplacement. I suppose another thing that has come up, I've seen it for the last 6 months, when people are making people redundant, the voluntary redundancy was always a great cash cow for people. The package, geez, that's great. Get the 20 or 30 grand or the 50 or 60 grand or whatever, put it in the pocket, put it towards the mortgage, happy days. Back out into the market, another job. That was the time of the Celtic Tiger. I was talking to a large financial institution the other day, and they were telling me that they can't get people to put up their hand over 40 years of age for voluntary redundancy. They can't get people to go. They want these people to put up their hand, but they can't. They're fearful of the future. They don't see a bright side to what's happening. So again, the challenge that's being faced now is that it's more compulsory redundancy. And this is very difficult for people in HR, people who own businesses, to make people compulsory redundant. It's different when people are smiling and saying, yeah, give me the money, I'm gone. It's very different when it's compulsory. You know, you did your performance review last year. Everything okay? No problem? Fine? Then, last week you've been told you didn't make the rating. You thought you were an 8. You thought you were a 7.5. Now you're just a 5.5. Your face doesn't fit. You didn't make the rating. We don't want you anymore. And that whole thing has a huge impact on an individual. This is a time when they come sometimes into our office, and they sit down, and their self-confidence is on the floor. Self-belief, self-worth, their whole life journey that they've mapped out in their career to date is just car crash. And I'm supposed to work with this individual to tell them they're the best things in sliced pan. Get out there and you get another job. This is real life. This is what happens when individuals are hit with something for the first time. Spent 20, 25 years maybe in the one job. I worked in a company last year where in a local village, 2 guys were married to 2 sisters in one small country village in Ireland. To their wives, to their families, to the community, they had the same job when they went into this factory. One was made compulsory redundant, the other wasn't. They drank with each other at the weekend, they went to their sons' football games, and now Those two sisters were looking at their two husbands in two different ways. One was better than the other. One was a 10, one was a 5.5. One rating didn't make up. So the huge impact that can have for an individual in a small community, how that can impact. And trying to pick that person off the floor. That's my effort at a brain there, folks. I hope. 3 core worries for those facing redundancy. As I say again, when people come across to us, what's the biggest thing? The financial. Mortgage, how will I pay the mortgage? Almost the bottom level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, shelter. What will I do? How will I pay the bills? The whole impact financially is huge for people, especially when they can't see a bright side to the future. Personally, how's this going to impact me and my family? What will I tell my husband? What will I tell my wife? What will I tell my kids? I was in a session, the 3rd session with somebody and going through an outplacement program in Dublin last week, and the guy told me he's got 4 sons, and he said he came home and his 10-year-old boy put out a job advert from the paper. He said, "Daddy, there's a job. Can't you go for that job?" He said, "No, I'm fine, I'm waiting for the right job now, it's okay." Trying to explain that to a 10-year-old boy. Daddy doesn't go to work anymore. Daddy doesn't have an identity anymore. This was in the South County Dublin, in a very wealthy place where everybody went to work. Everybody had an identity. And what we meet with people is the whole thing, your job title is not your identity. And so many people have so much invested in their job title that they lose that. When they lose their job title, they lose their identity. They lose their sense of, what is it about me? What makes me special? Why was I paid so much for so long? That can have a real impact on individuals. So the issue of financial, the issue of personal and career. And quite often, the career piece is, the rabbit in the headlight stuff. They're rushing out there. What will I do next? And if we talk about the impact, I was coming in this morning listening to Morning Ireland, and all I hear is HSBC Bank has lost 17% or whatever yesterday in shares. And this is the negative environment that an individual has to go through. I don't want to make it completely negative this morning, but this is reality of the individual who's been made redundant. These are the type of messages that they may have to deal with. The state of the economy, record job losses, month on month. Maybe their partner's job is insecure. The skills that I had in the work that I did before are a mismatch for the skills that are needed in the future. We see fantastic investment in the Midwest in the likes of Cook and Zimmer and Intel. But is that a match for my skills going forward? Have I future-proofed my career? Or have I just stayed on life's journey on autopilot? The media recession, we get up out of bed in the morning, we listen to Morning Ireland, we hear negative news. We pick up our paper, we read negative news. What do we do then? We go to work and we talk to somebody and we tell them the negative news that we've heard on the newspaper or on the radio. It's a vicious cycle. Salary competition, what training will I need? So this is the environment that somebody might face going through that redundancy. And it's important that when we are making people redundant, or when people are faced with this, that we understand the environment that the impact that it's having to them personally and financially, and also that we know that the environment that they're facing. And these are the real concerns that we're presented with. These are the presenting issues that come into us in our first session with somebody. It's just not do up my CV. There's a lot more to the individual than just the presenting issue. There are worries all over the shop.